The royal guard riding the horse was struggling more and more to keep an emotionless expression as this careful US tourist just kept annoying his calm horse to get a picture. He was waiting for somebody to get her and take her away. But what he did not expect was that the horse would take matters into its own hands. As the lady annoyed the horse, he never took its eyes off her. It was as if he was waiting for the perfect timing. And then, when she was just close enough, everyone gasped as they watched the horse take his sweet revenge on the lady. No one could believe what had just happened. But no one was as surprised as the woman because she was so embarrassed she tied her ran away. But it wasn't over yet. She had broken the rules after all. It was time for the royal guards to do their famous changing of the guards. If the tourists were only annoying the guards, they would have been able to accept it. They had been trained to withstand even the greatest annoyance. But that was not the case for the horses. Tourists had no mercy for these poor animals either, but they were going to regret that very quickly. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming stories. One of the tourists gathered around was Mildred, a 32-year-old woman who was vacationing in the UK with her boyfriend Lyle. They had seen almost all the best places, and this was their final stop before flying home. Taking a picture with the royal guard was one of Mildred's bucket list items that she wanted to complete. Mildred really wanted to get a picture of one of the royal guards, and she would do almost anything for it. There had been a little girl left alone in the square while her mother was taking pictures of her with the royal guard approaching. But what that mother did not know was that the guards are not allowed to stop on their march, and things went very wrong. The stupid woman had figured that it did not matter if she put her child in the way of the royal guard to get some pictures, because they would, of course, just stop or go around her. The royal guards stepped right through the little girl and almost kicked her out of the way. And while the royal guards were very much in the right to do this, they just did not want the hassle anymore, and thus they put up the small barricades. Mildred was at the front of the waist-high barrier, and she could already see how this distance from the royal guards could ruin her picture. She knew she was not allowed to get over, but there was just no other way. What were the guards going to do if she jumped the barrier? And so, as the clock struck 12, it was time for everything to be set in motion. The guards were ready to move to their post and take over the shift of their tired colleagues. When the gate of the palace opened up, it was something they would probably never get fully used to, nor did they really want that. Mildred got a few pictures, but none of them were good enough. Up front was one guard on a horse, whose task it traditionally was to clear the path for the other guards to follow. One of those recognizably dressed royal guards on top of a beautiful horse. This was perfect for a picture. She knew that the rider would probably not get close enough to her to get a good picture, so Mildred just decided fuck it and did something very stupid. Mildred swiftly jumped over the barrier and wanted to make her way to the still very much unaware royal guards on horseback. But she was not the only one. When other tourists saw Mildred jump the barriers, a lot of them figured that this was most likely something okay to do, or they figured that if that woman dared to do it, they would probably not get punished for doing the same. This all set off a sort of chain reaction. Following Mildred's action, dozens of people suddenly jumped the barriers one by one and made their way to the gate where the rider had just emerged from. The royal guard had now very much noticed what was going on, as it also startled his horse a bit. When the other guards came out to help push people back, and while those same people were trying to take pictures with him, Mildred actually started helping the guards. They had no idea that she was the instigator here, so maybe they would allow her to stay close to the entrance if she was helpful. She looked smug as she stepped into the front line. They had already pissed off the guards enough. Mildred signed to her boyfriend Lyle that he needed to get the camera ready. He knew what she was planning, and even though he did not fully agree with it, he knew better than to go against his wife. And so he started waiting for the royal guards to come out again. Behind the still closed doors, the royal guards were debating whether they should come out at all today. Maybe they should take more precautions and clear out the plaza. That was the only way they could guarantee that they would not be mobbed again. It would also send out a statement to future tourists that their thoughtless actions would actually carry consequences. They had been training for years to do this job, and they were not going to be scared or deterred because of some overeager tourists. They wanted to just go out there as always, and when those people outside tried anything again, they would handle it with the appropriate amount of force and authority. They got back into the starting positions, and when the doors opened up again, they were able to walk out to meet the crowd with confidence. When the guards started to march out from the palace, one by one the guards came out, and the tourists were taking pictures like crazy. Mildred was still on the lookout near the exit. All the guards came out, and she was very much ready with her plan. At first, she was very surprised that the guard on horseback was not coming out. She was scared that she would maybe not come at all anymore, which would ruin her perfect picture. Mildred was patiently waiting while the guard on horseback was nervously starting to move forward with the line. It was nearly his turn to get out and face the music, and he was not looking forwards to it. He came out to see cameras that were flashing in his face. The guard knew very well that she was the one who started the madness earlier and was afraid she would do it again. He had no idea that she had actually almost been rewarded for what she had done. As soon as the horse had walked a couple of steps out from the door, Mildred jumped out over the barricade again. You would have expected the guards to be prepared for this, and they were. But because they thought Mildred was there to help them, they had not been keeping their eyes on her. She had grabbed a hold of the horse's leash before the guard even noticed she was there. She was already posing for the picture that Lyle was trying to make when the guard laid his eyes on her. He felt his blood starting to boil. Not this time. He can clearly see that his loyal horse is very much getting annoyed that this woman is holding him back, and at that moment something snaps in the guard. He screams at Mildred to let go of his horse. Lyle had not given the all-go sign to Mildred that he had taken a good picture. He started stunting with the camera. But Mildred is not in a rush. She would not let go of this horse until she had her picture. The guard knows that he will have to explain himself when he physically hurt the woman. If she is holding on so tightly to the leash of his horse, he might as well use this to his advantage. He immediately gives his horse the sign to dash forward, and with how well trained this animal is, it does not hesitate for a second. It quickly moved forward, catching Mildred completely off guard and making her fall on the ground flat on her face. The horse ends up taking his revenge on Mildred in its own creative way. The horse starts to defecate on the now screaming Mildred, and everybody watching cannot help himself from cracking a smile. Even Lyle cannot help himself from cracking a smile. Maybe this would learn his wife a bit of a lesson about respect for others. A lot of people had already anticipated that something worth recording was going to happen when the guard screamed at Mildred. And so many people had the moment Mildred got dedicated caught on camera. And despite her desperate plies for the footage to be deleted, everybody started posting the videos online for the world to see, and suddenly, Mildred went viral online. A lot of the video also gave the context that she was being an absolutely self-absorbed person and that she got what was coming to her. Everybody was laughing at Mildred online, and the woman was very much ashamed of her actions. It luckily did help her to see the light at least somewhat. She understood that she had been a bad person and was probably getting what was coming to her. She is trying to change her way and treat everybody with respect and as her equal now.